When D&D players hear the word dungeon, it tends to conjure up certain imagery. Maybe it's a lost temple, an abandoned tomb, or a mine shaft, or something like that. But Cawood Publishing's Monsters of the Dungeon, Brave the Darkness, offers a unique take on that, and we're going to review it for you by highlighting some of the cool monsters and settings that you can find these monsters in. Let's take a look.
Welcome back, everybody. If you've been here for a little bit, you've probably seen Andrew Cawood. You've probably seen us talk about some Cawood products and things. I feel like it's worth mentioning. We don't get paid at all by Cawood. We just think Andrew's a really cool dude and we really like the stuff he makes. So with that being said, we're talking about Monsters of the Dungeon. This is the 6th book in the series. I think it's the final book in the series too. But that's not the point of this. That's the plan. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what actually happens. But it has conversion tables. Everything's kind of set for 5e, but it does have conversion tables for Pathfinder and for OSR games. So if you're running something different than 5e, there's still a built-in solution for you to be able to use these monsters. Each of the 7 chapters, they focus on a specific kind of dungeon. So you have everything from like an arcane style dungeon all the way to like wilderness or tomb style. One thing that I find kind of interesting is the fact that I'm showing this on the screen as if Jake's not just going to show you the picture in the edit. Yes. But each of the 7 chapters, it's going to focus on a different style of dungeon. But you're also introduced to these adventurers in the beginning of the book in kind of like a comic book style. And they're all some sort of like expert on each of the dungeon styles. So it's just fun to have like kind of a built-in NPC right there. What's special about these monsters, Jake? Are they just dungeon monsters? Is that all you could do with them?
Well, no, I mean, and that's kind of what we were alluding to in the intro a bit too, is that the word dungeon, I think for most players, think of like those like underground, deep, dark things. And yes, that's included here, but they have wilderness as a dungeon. And, you know, Andrew's released books in the monster series on those kinds of things too. So really, most of the monsters that you see in this book could be used anywhere. Obviously, you know, some monsters might have different like lore and things that you want to make fit, but this is not just for like, oh, we're doing a dungeon crawl today, so that's the only thing this book is useful for. I think it's really important to mention. Each monster comes with adventure hooks, which means that there's literally over 300 adventure hooks that this book does offer you. And they're not going to like write the adventure for you. Like that's not really what an adventure hook is. It's just the kind of thing that will spark your imagination and then get the gears going, get the steam blowing out of your ears as you start to see what kinds of things you could send your players on. Also, just throughout the book, they just sprinkle in several unique magic items that you could include in your games, use as rewards. I always like having the bad guys have the magic item used against you, and then that's kind of the reward. And so you'll be able to do that here if you want, but it's nice to have new stuff, especially for veteran tables that they're familiar with maybe some traditional lore. It's always nice to have a book like this.
It's cool that you're not just getting a book of monsters. You're getting a book of ideas. You're getting a book of magic items, and just a lot of fun stuff. Andrew from Cawood Publishing, he describes this as classic fantasy and like 5e rules with the first edition style, which I think a lot of gamers would jive with. One of the other things that I really love about this book is that each of the different styles of dungeons, like it starts off with a page of a random encounter table and some sort of like event table. And again, it's not writing the adventure for you, but if you're going to be spending some time in a dungeon or in a place, encounter tables and event tables, and I would also encourage you to like pull your favorite things from both of them and combine it on the same table. That's the lifeblood of your game. And it's a huge tool for a DM too. Like if you're getting stuck, you're not sure what to do, roll on that event table.
Yeah, things feel stale. It's nice too, because if they put in too much detail, it tends to limit the target like level that the group is at. So yeah, it actually keeps things a little more open-ended anyways that way. So it's a nice touch. I like that. But Josh, so let's talk about the different kinds of dungeons that they have, starting off with the arcane dungeon. Andrew gave us the old our old friend, the Blabberblub, in this one, which I'm definitely going to put Andrew's face when he made the Blabberblub speak in our one shot that he did. there's that's on Twitter there somewhere too, which is a lot of fun. They got some great ones here. I mean, the castle dungeon has the Throne of Lies, which I think if you're familiar with the movie Elf, he actually literally said that did inspire that monster entirely, which I think is just magnificent.
That's awesome. I actually didn't know that part. We also have the manor dungeon section. One of the monsters in here, it does one of my favorite things that a monster can do. It's a Grim Noble, and my favorite thing is it's not an ability, it's not an attack. It's looking at a stat block and thinking of the possibilities. So a Grim Noble is like an intelligent undead, but it's not a lich, it's not a mummy, it's not some sort of like crazy high level thing that's just like technically undead, like mostly dead. A Grim Noble, it's quite literally like some sort of zombie or a wight, but there's intelligence and motivations, and it's like an actual character. When I read the stat block and some of the information on them, it just makes me imagine like a faction of Grim Nobles, or at least creatures like these Grim Nobles. This is a community of undead that you could barter with, you could make plans with, you could ally yourself with them instead of just killing them. You also have a Thieves Guild dungeon. Two of the monsters that we liked from there were the Lurer and the Memorall. Memorall? Am I saying that right?
I don't know. Maybe we could spell that out for you in the comment section. Normally we ask you to spell that out, but that's how I would pronounce it as well. But after the Thieves Guild, we've got the Tomb Dungeon with the Listener. We've got the Wilderness Dungeon with the sappy ending, and the Fright Blight, which we actually did a creature feature on this not too long ago also. So if you'd like to know more about that, that's going to be an end card you can click on. And then Josh, in the Mountain Dungeon, we've got the Damsel in This Dress. I love the puns. The play on words here is just magnificent.
I have some honorable mentions here for just some of my favorite names that are in the book that we haven't mentioned yet. That's Pillar of the Community, which was also in our little one shot that we did. The Scarecase. Come on.
Just magnificent.
And then finally, the Statue of Limitations.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so these are the kind of monsters you're going to see here. It's going to be stuff that your players haven't seen before, so you should definitely check that out at theworldofmere.com. And if you want to see the aforementioned Blabberblub in action, you can see me and Josh try to fight it as Andrew ran that quick one-shot for us, or you could click on the Fright Blight creature feature. You choose. They're both good choices. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.